So my new dog is called Rook or Rookie, and I did not plan on getting her, but Maru, my old dog, had always lived in a pack. However, she was left behind by herself. I cannot explain to her, there's just no way to explain to her why her little brother and sister were taken away from her. It makes me sad every single day. It took many walks in the woods together with Maru before I made the decision. Quiet walks without a plan or agenda. I am bad at planning anyway. It was just the two of us moving between the trees, thinking things over, switching from rumination to wandering, and then back to rumination again. I lost the ability for deep contemplation in the previous years, like many of us have in the age of neoliberalism or late state capitalism or hyper-consumerism or whatever it is called in 2026. And maybe this is why I resist turning everything into some carefully thought out structure or instruction now. With the dogs, we are just together wandering, farting around really, in the sense Kurt Vonnegut meant it. The pupper knows only a few commands, and I don't plan to teach her many anyway. Like my other dog, she'll figure it out. At least I hope she does. So, here we are now, moving through the dense forest, the three of us, the canopy closing above us, light arriving in fragments. We have no destination or plan, just pleasantly lost, both in our heads and in the woods. When it comes to my dogs, I don't use corrections or rewards. We are just, together. I think that this is the only way a person can have an honest relationship with their dog. How people train dogs is not just a practical question, I don't think. It reflects something deeper. It shows how we see them, or maybe whether we see them at all as living individual beings with a soul. In his book called The Burnout Society, German-Korean philosopher Byung-Chul Han identifies a fundamental shift in the architecture of power over the last decades in our society. We used to live in what is called a disciplinary society, as described by Foucault. This society was organised around prohibition and surveillance. It was all about the suppression of deviant behaviour. But this society has given way to what Han calls the achievement society of neoliberalism. So, to explain the difference, the disciplinary subject used to be defined by what it was not allowed to do and what it should do. Now, in the achievement society, the achievement subject is defined by what it can do. We shifted from may not to can, and negativity is now replaced by positivity. But this is not progress at all. The achievement society does not liberate. The achievement subject suffers under the weight of unlimited possibility. He is driven by the compulsion to perform and to optimize. Everything is possible and people pursue everything all at once. The burnout that Han diagnoses is not the result of oppression but of a self-exploitation. We have become both master and slave. Han is clear. He writes, "The society of labouring and achievement is not a free society. It generates new constraints. Ultimately, the dialectic of master and slave does not yield a society where everyone is free and capable of leisure too. Rather, it leads to a society of work in which the master himself has become a labouring slave. In this society of compulsion, everyone carries a work camp inside. This labour camp is defined by the fact that one is simultaneously prisoner and guard, victim and perpetrator. It is a society where one exploits oneself." This society produces its own specific form of mental illness. Our previous disciplinary society produced madmen and criminals, people who broke the rules. In comparison, the modern achievement society produces depressives and losers, who like myself have broken under the weight of endless self-demand and striving. And now we are not entertaining ourselves to death like Neil Postman once said. I think we are optimizing ourselves to death. The history of dog training followed a similar path, I think. For most of the 20th century, dog training was discipline-based. It was rooted in dominance theory, the idea that dogs are hierarchical animals who are constantly vying for status. The tools were therefore correction-based. There were choke chains, prong collars and shock devices. The handler called himself the alpha. Unwanted behaviour was suppressed through pain and fear. The dog learned what she was not allowed to do. In the 80s and 90s I grew up with Great Danes, and my parents too used choke collars and disciplinary methods as well as everyone did then. But in the recent decades, positive reinforcement training rose to dominance. It presents itself as some humane alternative, but it's not. There are no punishments and that's okay, but there are rewards, clickers, treats, false praise and stuff. Which may look like liberation, but it's not. It is an illusion. Because when you look more closely at what positive reinforcement training produces, it becomes obvious, I think. The poor dog is in a permanent state of performance. It works for rewards and is in constant anticipation of the next command or signal. It is learned helplessness. It is addiction. What is worse is that the training session never truly ends, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce or weaken certain behaviour. And a dog that is always striving and always dependent on the human for the next cue, that is not a free dog. That is a slave dog. Both methods may look different but share the same central assumption. The dog is no longer a subject but becomes a project. Something to be shaped into our understanding of what a good dog looks like. And that is, that is not a good thing. I mean, come on, we used to roam the continent together, side by side. What happened? I think that a dog trained by disciplinary methods is a prisoner, while the positive method rewires the dog's desire and creates a slave. Neither asks what the dog actually is. Speaking of desire, Buddhists believe that this desire is the cause of all suffering, but more on that in another essay. Martin Buber was a Jewish theologian and philosopher who hasn't written a word on dog training, but he offers, I think, a better approach. In I and Thou, published over a century ago, Buber describes two fundamental modes of relation. First, the I-it relation is the relation of use and functionality. The other, and this can be a person, or an animal, or a tree, is experienced as an object in your world. She is defined by her properties and usefulness to you. There is also the I-thou relation, is something else entirely. It is a relation of genuine encounter. The thou cannot be measured or managed. The thou can only be met. In an autobiographical passage, he recalls spending time with a horse on his grandparents' estate. He writes, "When I was 11 years of age, spending the summer on my grandparents' estate, I used, as often as I could do it unobserved, to steal into the stable and gently stroke the neck of my darling, a broad dapple grey horse. It was not a casual delight, but a great, certainly friendly, but also deeply stirring happening. The horse, even when I had not begun by pouring oats for him into the manger, very gently raised his massive head, ears flicking, then snorted quietly, as a conspirator gives a signal meant to be recognisable only by his fellow conspirator, and I was approved. But once, I do not know what came over the child, at any rate it was childlike enough. It struck me about the stroking, what fun it gave me, and suddenly I became conscious of my hand. The game went on as before, but something had changed. It was no longer the same thing. He continues, what I experienced in touch with the animal was the other, the immense otherness of the other, which however did not remain strange like the otherness of the ox and the ram, but rather let me draw near and touch it. When I stroked the mighty mane, sometimes marvellously smooth-combed, at other times just as astonishingly wild, and felt the life beneath my hand, it was as though the element of vitality itself bordered on my skin, something that was not I, was certainly not the other itself. And yet it let me approach, confided itself to me, placed itself elementally in the relation of thou and thou with me. Both dominant training methods fail the dog as a person. Both the correction trainer and the positive trainer see only behavior. Neither is actually present to the dog in front of them. They are always, in Buber's sense, aware of their hand. They are both managing an it, one through fear, one through desire. Personally, I will go further than Buber, who was, uncertain whether a full I-thou encounter with animals was truly possible. Dogs are not people, but they are persons, they have interiority, perspective, memory, grief, joy and loyalty and all that stuff. My old dog grieved the loss of her pack, and she still does, I think. The pup arrived into a world already shaped by that loss. These are not behavioural outputs, they are experiences, and a being that experiences is a being with a soul that can be met or failed, certainly not trained. An I-thou orientation begins with deep contemplative attention, and it requires the human to be changed by the encounter, and not only the dog. I think both existing methods place the entire burden of transformation on the animal, which is wrong. To approach a dog as a thou places the burden on the human. We are back in the forest now, the three of us. Roek moves through the undergrowth. She is following something that I cannot smell and will never understand. Maru walks beside me, slower than she used to. She has known loss. She has known the sudden absence of her little brother and sister, and she is still here, still walking, still willing to be in relation with a human being after being left. She's graceful like that. The pupper will learn things too. There will be communication between us, boundaries, shared language built slowly over time. But she will not be a project, she will not be trained. I will not break her will or rewire her desire. I will not be aware of my hand. My dogs don't know they are a thou, but I do. And that is enough, I think.